There are moments in life when you feel an unusual stirring in your spirit, an unexplainable shift that makes you restless, eager, and yet unsure of what you are sensing. It feels like something is changing beneath the surface, but you cannot name it. You pray, you search, you ask for clarity, and still it seems as though heaven is quiet. Yet what if this silence is not rejection, but a sign? What if the very confusion you are experiencing is evidence that something greater is on the way? God does not prepare ordinary vessels for extraordinary blessings. He refines, He stretches, He tests, and He purifies. If you have been feeling unusual pressure, an overwhelming sense of waiting, or an unexpected shift in your circumstances, do not ignore it. Stay with me, because what I am about to share may be the confirmation you have been seeking. When God is about to release something significant into your life, He first prepares you to carry it. Many people miss their season of breakthrough because they fail to recognize the signs of divine transition. God does not place big blessings into unprepared hands. He ensures that when the blessing arrives, you are equipped to steward it with wisdom, humility, and stability. That is why the time before the blessing often feels heavy. It can be filled with trials, sudden delays, uncomfortable waiting, and sometimes even loss. You must understand this. The greater the blessing, the greater the preparation. One of the first indicators that something big is coming is unusual disruption. Suddenly, what used to work stops working. A strategy that once brought results becomes ineffective. Doors that were always open begin to close without warning. Relationships you assumed were solid start to crack. You try to hold everything together, but it seems as if life is slipping through your fingers. Hear this clearly. This is not always punishment. Often, it is God's way of repositioning you. Before God gives you something new, He frequently allows the old to be removed. Abraham had to leave his homeland before he could receive the promise. Joseph had to be thrown into a pit before he could reach the palace. What looks like loss can be a divine shift in disguise. Another sign that something big is coming is a season of isolation that feels unusual and unexplained. You may find yourself misunderstood even by people who once knew how to stand with you. You may feel disconnected from those around you, including those you relied on. It can be painful, but it is not random. This isolation is often intentional. God sometimes separates you so He can speak to you without interference, so He can reveal things to you that others cannot yet comprehend. Jesus often withdrew to solitary places to pray. Paul spent years in the wilderness before stepping fully into his calling. There are revelations that only come in the quiet, in stillness, and in the absence of distraction. When God is preparing to elevate you, He may remove certain voices so you can hear His voice more clearly. Along with isolation, you may notice an increase in spiritual attacks. The enemy does not waste resources on people who are not a threat. If you are suddenly facing intensified warfare, stronger doubts, sharper temptations, financial strain, or emotional battles, it may be because you are close to something powerful. The enemy is not reacting to where you have been. He is reacting to where you are going. He wants to discourage you before you arrive. But remember this, the enemy only attacks what he fears. The resistance you are facing can be proof that you are carrying something valuable. If you were not dangerous to the kingdom of darkness, you would not be a target. Another common sign is a restlessness that you cannot ignore. Before a breakthrough, it can feel as if you no longer fit in places that once felt comfortable. Conversations that once fed your spirit now seem empty. Things that used to satisfy you now seem meaningless. You may look around and realize you have outgrown the environment, the routines, and even the expectations that used to define you. This is not arrogance, and it is not ingratitude. It can be the inner evidence that God is calling you higher. He may be shifting your appetite so you will not settle for what is familiar when He is preparing something greater. In the same season, you might notice opportunities arising in unexpected ways. Doors that were once closed begin to open, but not always in the way you imagined. You may meet someone who introduces you to a connection that changes everything. You may receive an idea, an instruction, or a conviction that redirects you. When God is about to do something big, He orchestrates divine connections. The right people begin to appear. Resources arrive in surprising forms. The problem is that many people do not recognize these moments. They overlook small opportunities because they are expecting something grand, but God often moves in ways that seem insignificant at first. Another major sign is that your faith is being stretched like never before. You may find yourself in circumstances where you have no choice but to trust God completely. Your resources may seem to dry up. Your plans may collapse. Your strength may feel depleted. This is not God abandoning you. It is God shifting you from self-reliance to total dependence on Him. He will allow you to reach the end of yourself so that you can experience the fullness of His power. If you have been feeling as though you are at a breaking point, do not give up. That place can become the birthplace of miracles. God also tests obedience in small things before entrusting bigger things. You may sense a sudden conviction to release certain habits, to walk away from certain relationships, or to make difficult choices that do not make sense to those around you. God is watching your willingness to follow Him without constant explanation. The rich young ruler wanted to follow Jesus, but he was unwilling to release what had his heart. God will often ask for what holds your heart before He places what is in His hand into your life. If He is prompting you to surrender something, it is because He is making room for something greater. And one of the most profound signs of all is an overwhelming sense of expectancy. You cannot fully explain it, but deep in your spirit, you know something is coming. You may not see evidence yet, but your faith is being stirred. Your spirit is picking up on what is happening in the unseen realm. Just as a pregnant woman prepares for a child she has not yet held, your soul begins to prepare for what God is bringing. If you recognize these signs in your life, do not be discouraged and do not give up. The discomfort, the isolation, the waiting, and the warfare can all be proof that you are on the verge of something greater. God is not punishing you, He is preparing you. Stay faithful, stay obedient, stay expectant. When God is about to give you something big, He gives you signs if you have eyes to see them. When God is preparing you for something beyond your imagination, He refines you in ways that can feel painful, confusing, and even unfair. But every challenge, every delay, and every moment of uncertainty can become a divine setup for what is coming. You may have noticed that your plans are no longer working the way they used to. The things that once brought you success are suddenly ineffective. The strategies that used to open doors now lead to dead ends. This can be a sign that God is shifting you into a new dimension. He closes doors not to punish you, but to redirect you. When Elijah was fed by ravens at the brook, there came a time when the brook dried up. It did not dry up because God abandoned him. It dried up because it was time for the next assignment. If the brook had remained full, Elijah would never have moved forward. God sometimes allows things to dry up in your life so you do not remain in a place that is no longer meant for you. Sometimes the greatest frustration comes when you feel ready, but nothing seems to be happening. You pray, you fast, you seek God, and the heavens appear silent. What you may not realize is that silence can be part of the process. God is testing your heart in the waiting season. Will you still trust Him when nothing seems to change? Will you still worship Him when your prayers feel unanswered? Many people miss their breakthrough because impatience drives them out of position. They take matters into their own hands instead of waiting for God's timing. But there is a difference between delay and denial. Just because it has not happened yet does not mean it will not happen. God is watching how you handle the waiting, because the way you wait shapes the way you will walk in the blessing when it comes. During this time, you may also experience betrayal from people you least expected. Friends who once stood by you may suddenly turn away. People you trusted may misunderstand you, question you, or distance themselves. This can be one of the most painful parts of preparation, but it can also be necessary. God removes the wrong people before He elevates you. Not everyone is meant to go where He is taking you. Some relationships are seasonal, and if you try to hold on beyond their season, they can hinder your progress. Judas had to betray Jesus so the crucifixion could take place. Joseph's brothers had to betray him so he could reach Egypt. What feels like rejection can be divine protection. God prunes your circle because He does not want you carrying unnecessary baggage into your next season. You may also feel an unusual level of discomfort in your current situation. Things that used to satisfy you no longer bring peace. You wake up with the sense that you were meant for more, even though you cannot fully define what that more is yet. This is God stirring your spirit. He creates a holy dissatisfaction so you do not settle where you are. The children of Israel had to feel the discomfort of slavery before they were ready to leave Egypt. Sometimes God allows discomfort to push you into destiny. If you feel that divine restlessness, do not ignore it. It may be proof that you are being called to something greater. At the same time, you may notice that your faith is being tested at a deeper level. What used to be easy now requires a stronger trust. Situations that once had clear solutions now require you to walk by faith and not by sight. God stretches your faith before He enlarges your territory. If you are facing challenges that look impossible, it may be because God is strengthening your dependence on Him. He does not want you relying on your own ability, your own wisdom, or your own resources. He wants you trusting Him completely. When Peter stepped out of the boat, he had to trust that Jesus would sustain him on the water. When God is preparing you for something big, He will ask you to step into the unknown before you see the provision. There will also be moments when God asks you to let go of what is familiar. He may call you to leave a job, walk away from an opportunity, or release something you believed was part of your future. This can be one of the hardest tests of faith because it requires obedience without full explanation. Abraham was called to leave his homeland without knowing where he was going. He obeyed because he trusted God's voice more than his own understanding. When God is shifting you, He will ask you to walk away from things that no longer align with where He is taking you. If you hold on too tightly to what is fading, you may miss what He is bringing. Another sign that something big is coming is that you begin receiving divine insight and revelation. God starts opening your spiritual eyes to things you did not notice before. Scriptures you have read many times suddenly come alive with new meaning. You begin discerning things in the Spirit that others cannot see. As is God increasing your wisdom for the next season. He is training your ear to recognize His voice in ways you never have before. The more you seek Him, the more He reveals. That is why your hunger for His presence increases during times of transition. You may find yourself craving more time in prayer, more time in His Word, and more time in worship. Do not ignore that hunger. It is evidence that you are being positioned for something greater. And as God prepares you, you may notice doors opening in ways you did not expect. People you have never met may suddenly enter your life with guidance, support, and opportunity. Divine connections begin forming. The right conversations happen at the right time. This is not coincidence, it is divine alignment. When God is ready to shift you, He sends the right people, places you in the right environments, and orchestrates moments that feel too precise to be random. Pay attention to these moments because they are part of the preparation process. In seasons like this, the pressure can feel constant. You may carry a weight you cannot explain, as if you're being pressed from the inside and the outside at the same time. Yet pressure is often the evidence of preparation because what is being formed in you cannot remain comfortable. God will stretch your capacity so you can hold what He intends to release. He will mature your thinking so you can make wise choices when the opportunity arrives. He will strengthen your discipline so you do not squander what He places before you. He will deepen your humility so you do not mistake a gift for a throne. And He will anchor your identity so that when attention comes, you do not lose yourself trying to keep it. Disruption then is not simply loss, it is often relocation. It is God moving you from what is familiar into what is appointed. Some doors close because they were never meant to be permanent. Some relationships change because they cannot survive the next version of you. Some routines are interrupted because they would keep you small. When you feel as if you are losing ground, God may actually be clearing ground. When you feel as if you are being emptied, He may be making space. When you feel as if you are being stripped, He may be protecting you from carrying what would corrupt you later. What you are calling a setback may be a setup, not because the pain is imagined, but because the purpose is real. Isolation can feel like abandonment, but it can be a gift when it draws you closer to God. In the quiet, your hearing becomes sharper. In the stillness, you begin to recognize what you were ignoring when life was noisy. When certain voices fade, You discover which voices were shaping your emotions, your decisions, and your faith. God can remove distractions so you can discern direction. He can reduce the crowd so you can strengthen your conviction. He can strip away constant opinions so you learn to stand on His word, not on people's approval. And when you come out of isolation, you come out clearer, stronger, and more rooted, able to carry responsibility without needing constant affirmation. Spiritual resistance also has a way of exposing what matters most. When the battle intensifies, it can feel personal, but it is often purposeful. The enemy aims at your confidence because he knows confidence fuels obedience. He aims at your patience because patience keeps you in position. He aims at your identity because identity anchors your courage. Yet every attack can become a reminder. If the opposition is loud, it is because the assignment is close. You are not being targeted because you are weak. You are being targeted because you are becoming effective. And if you will keep your eyes on God, the very resistance meant to break you will become the training that builds you. Restlessness, too, is not always anxiety. Sometimes it is awakening. It is the realization that you cannot keep living on yesterday's level while God is inviting you into tomorrow's territory. You begin to feel the distance between what is and what should be. You begin to notice what drains you and what strengthens you. You begin to hunger for substance, for purpose, for alignment. That hunger can be holy. It can be God's way of calling you out of complacency and into deeper commitment. And in the midst of all this, God often gives small signs, not to entertain you, but to encourage you. A timely conversation, a scripture that answers a private question, a door that opens just enough to remind you that He is still guiding you, an opportunity that looks minor but carries major direction. These moments require discernment because pride demands drama, but God often builds destiny through details. If you stay attentive, you will see His fingerprints in the timing, in the people, and in the quiet confirmations that strengthen your faith without drawing attention. Your faith being stretched is also part of this design. God is not merely trying to get you to believe for a miracle. He is building a lifestyle of trust. He is teaching you to keep walking when you do not have all the information. He is teaching you to obey when you cannot predict the outcome. He is teaching you to worship when you do not feel immediate relief. This kind of faith is not emotional. It is anchored. It does not rely on perfect circumstances. It rests on the character of God. Obedience is where this preparation becomes real. God will not always ask you for what is easy to surrender. He will often put His finger on the very thing you lean on for security, control, or comfort. Not because He wants to harm you, but because He wants to free you. If He is calling you to release something, it is because it cannot go with you into the next season. It may be a habit, a relationship, a mindset, or a hidden attachment. When you obey in private, you prove you can be trusted in public. When you submit in the small, you become stable in the big. Expectancy, finally, is the language of a spirit, T that senses movement. Even before you see the change, something within you starts preparing. Your prayers shift. Your desires sharpen. Your focus becomes clearer. You begin making room in your schedule, in your heart, and in your mind for what is coming. That is not foolish optimism. It is spiritual sensitivity. It is the inward witness that God is arranging things beyond your sight. So if you are in a season where the old is being removed, where the quiet feels louder than the noise, where the battle seems constant and the pressure feels unrelenting, understand that this is often the final stretch before a shift. There are seasons where it feels as though everything is pressing in on you at once, where your strength is tested daily and your endurance feels thin. Yet these moments are not accidental. They are often the last stages of preparation before release. God does not waste pressure. He uses it to shape you, to compress what is unnecessary, and to strengthen what must remain. What feels heavy now is often forming something durable within you. You may notice that just as certain doors begin to open, other areas of life feel as though they are getting worse. Opposition increases. Confusion tries to settle in. And discouragement whispers that you may have misheard God. This is where many people turn back. They mistake resistance for redirection and retreat when they are actually close. But the greatest attacks often come right before the greatest breakthroughs. The enemy fights hardest when he knows his time is short. If your battles have intensified, it may be because you are closer than you realize. Do not retreat now. Do not give up when you are this close. Through all of this, God is watching your response. Will you trust Him when you do not understand what He is doing? Will you remain faithful when things feel difficult and unfamiliar? Will you keep walking even when the path ahead is unclear? Those who endure, those who remain steadfast, are the ones who receive the fullness of what God has promised. Many people forfeit their blessing not because God changed His mind, but because they stopped too soon. Fear, doubt, and frustration pulled them out of alignment. But if you can hold on, if you can keep trusting, if you can continue pressing forward, you will see the manifestation of what God has spoken over your life. God does not make mistakes. If He has allowed you to walk through these trials, it is because He is preparing you for something greater. If He has allowed certain things to be removed from your life, it is because He is making room for something better. Every tear you have cried, every setback you've endured, and every lonely night you have faced has been part of the process. Do not lose heart now. The breakthrough is closer than you think. When God is preparing you for something extraordinary, He allows a process that refines you in ways that feel uncomfortable and demanding. The process is rarely easy because it is designed to shape your character, build your endurance, and prepare your heart for the responsibility that comes with greater blessing. Many people desire a breakthrough, but few are willing to endure the transformation required to receive it. The anointing God places on a life requires preparation. And that preparation often comes through challenge, pruning, and stretching beyond what you believed you could handle. There will be seasons when everything feels as though it is falling apart, yet in reality, things are falling into place. The supports you once leaned on may fade, forcing you to depend on God more deeply than ever before. He allows these moments not to destroy you, but to draw you closer to Him. When the Israelites wandered through the wilderness, they experienced lack, discomfort, and uncertainty, but it was all part of the journey toward the promised land. God was teaching them daily dependence, trust for provision, and obedience for direction. The same pattern unfolds in your life. You may find yourself in a season where doors are closing, opportunities seem to vanish, and the things you once enjoyed no longer satisfy you. God is shifting your focus. He is pulling you away from temporary distractions so you can prepare for lasting purpose. Many people miss their calling because they refuse to let go of what is familiar. They cling to relationships, routines, and comforts that no longer serve where God is leading them. But when God is about to do something new, He removes what is old. New wine cannot be poured into old wineskins. God will not take you into the next level if you are still gripping the past. He will also test your obedience in ways that make little sense to the natural mind. He may ask you to step into unfamiliar territory, to give when you feel depleted, to serve when you feel unseen, or to trust when everything around you looks uncertain. This is where faith becomes real. Will you obey when you do not understand? Will you step forward when there is no clear path? Abraham had no map, no details, and no guarantees, only a promise, yet his obedience positioned him for legacy. During this process, you may feel isolated, as though no one truly understands what you're walking through. You may feel like your prayers are unanswered and that God feels distant. But silence does not mean absence. God is not ignoring you, He is observing you. He is watching how you respond to adversity, how you handle waiting, and how you trust Him when clarity is withheld. Many people expect immediate results from prayer, but God's timing is not governed by human urgency. When Joseph was in prison, he could have abandoned the dreams God gave him, but he remained faithful in obscurity. In time, God elevated him to a position he could never have reached on his own. There will also be seasons of intense warfare. The enemy recognizes when something significant is approaching and will attempt to discourage, distract, and deceive you. You may face pseudo attacks, unexpected obstacles, and overwhelming challenges that cause you to question your direction. This is not a sign to retreat. It is confirmation that you are getting closer. The enemy does not attack those who are not a threat. If the opposition in your life has increased, it may be because your purpose is greater than you realize. The battles you face now are shaping you for the victories ahead. You may begin to notice moments of acceleration where things start shifting quickly. Divine connections form. Doors once closed begin to open. Opportunities appear unexpectedly. This acceleration is a sign of transition, but it also carries responsibility. You cannot carry an old mindset into a new season. You cannot rely on old habits to sustain you in greater influence. God will expose areas that need refinement. He will challenge you to grow spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Many people pray for elevation but resist pruning. They want blessing without discipline, promotion without preparation. But God will not promote you beyond what your character can sustain. The waiting period is often the most difficult part of the journey. It is in waiting that doubt tries to take root, fear whispers lies, and impatience tempts you to act prematurely. Yet waiting is not wasted time. It is in waiting that God strengthens you. It is in waiting that He develops you. David was anointed king long before he ever sat on the throne. He endured seasons of hiding, serving, and misunderstanding before stepping fully into destiny. Each season prepared him for what was ahead. If you are in a waiting season, do not despise it. Do not rush what God is doing. The promise is still coming, but the process must be completed first. You may also notice an increase in revelation. Scriptures you have read countless times suddenly carry deeper meaning. You begin to hear God's voice more clearly. He reveals truths about your purpose, your future, and your identity in Him. This is preparation for the next level. Many people want to be used by God but neglect intimacy with Him. They want power without presence. The closer you draw to God, the more He reveals. The more time you spend with Him, the more He deposits within you. There will be moments when you feel tempted to give up, when the pressure feels overwhelming and the road ahead seems too difficult. This is not the time to quit. This is the time to press forward. The enemy wants you to stop just before your breakthrough. He wants you to believe the struggle will never end and the promise will never come. But God is faithful. He has not brought you this far to abandon you. Every sacrifice, every act of obedience, and every moment of faith has been seen. In His perfect timing, He will release what He has been preparing for you. Do not be discouraged if the journey feels longer than expected. God is not in a hurry. He is building something that will last. He is preparing you for something that will not only bless you, but impact generations. What He is doing in your life is bigger than you can see right now. The process may be painful, but the reward will be worth it. Keep trusting, keep believing, keep moving forward. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. The journey to receiving what God has for you requires unwavering faith, unshakable trust, and relentless endurance. It is not for the faint of heart or for those who give up easily. There will be moments when it feels like everything around you is resisting your progress, as if the very atmosphere is pushing back. But resistance is often the clearest indicator that you are on the verge of something extraordinary. The enemy does not attack what is insignificant. The opposition you face is proof that you are stepping into something greater than you imagine. The greater the resistance, the greater the reward. One of the hardest lessons in this journey is learning to discern the difference between God's delay and God's denial. When prayers seem unanswered and doors remain closed, it is easy to assume God has said no. But what if He is simply saying not yet? What if the delay is protection? What if the closed doors are shielding you from something you cannot yet see? All things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. This includes setbacks, disappointments, and moments that feel like failure. Trust becomes essential here. It is easy to trust God when life is going well. True faith is revealed in waiting, in silence, and in uncertainty. Abraham waited decades. Joseph endured betrayal and imprisonment. David fled before reigning. Every great move of God is preceded by preparation, and preparation is rarely comfortable. Another sign that breakthrough is near is an increase in spiritual pressure. Temptations resurface. Relationships strain. Old battles try to return. The enemy is desperate to stop you before you arrive, but God never allows a battle you are not equipped to win. The enemy may roar, but he has no authority unless you surrender. When God is preparing to release something big, he often brings you to a place of total dependence. Resources dry up, support fades, familiar systems disappear. This is not punishment, it is preparation. God is teaching you that he alone is your source. When the brook dried up for Elijah, it was not abandonment, it was redirection. God was leading him to a new place of provision. In the same way, God may allow things to dry up in your life to lead you somewhere greater. Restlessness is another indicator. You begin to feel uncomfortable where you once felt settled. Mediocrity no longer satisfies you. A holy dissatisfaction stirs within you. God is awakening something inside you that refuses to remain small. New levels require new mindsets. You cannot step into greater things while clinging to old thinking. God may also begin giving you glimpses of your future through dreams, confirmations, and repeated themes. These are not coincidences. They are divine signals pointing you forward, but revelation carries responsibility. God requires obedience with what he has already shown you. One of the most painful realities is that some people will not go with you into the next season. Relationships may fade, connections may end. This can be heartbreaking, but it is often necessary. Some people were assigned to your past, not your future. Holding on to them can delay what God is doing. Discernment becomes crucial. Not every voice carries wisdom. Not every opinion is from God. You must guard what influences you. God will also refine your character. He will expose weaknesses and test your patience, humility, and love. Many want calling without preparation, but God builds foundation before platform. He tests faithfulness in private before promotion in public. Testing is always a prerequisite for elevation. Everything you are experiencing is leading somewhere. Every challenge and delay is shaping you. God is preparing you to carry what you have prayed for. Do not rush the process. What God is preparing is greater than you imagine. Trust him. Stay faithful. Keep moving forward. The promise is coming. What you are walking through now is not wasted. It is preparation. God is strengthening you, refining you, and aligning you. Pressure is a sign of transformation. Do not grow weary. Do not turn back. Stand firm in faith. God is faithful to his word. If he has spoken, he will fulfill it. Trust the process. Hold on to hope. Walk boldly into what God has prepared. Your breakthrough is closer than you think.